Alright guys, what's happening? So we're going to do a pretty quick one here today. I've done a few other overlapping boxes videos for playing over changes here. Particularly blues, format, changes in country, talking about 1, 4, and 5, which are going to be your most common movements here. And, once you get good at those, it's easier to kind of copy and paste things anyway. So it's just good to kind of practice. I like to use just 1, 4 to practice, throw in some 5. 5's always just one whole step away from your 4. It's also good to try to learn it in the same position, so you don't have to move up 2 frets, which we'll go over in other videos. But today we're just going to concentrate on the 1 and the 4 and where those 2 boxes overlap here, okay? So in the key of A here, our first chord movement here is A7. So we're going to play first over the A7 here, right? So over the A7, my mind is thinking here A minor pentatonic with the major 3rd in it, a little bit of major 6, maybe flat 5. We've gone over that scale before. So in this position here, I've got on our low E string we have 5, 8. You can go up to the major 3rd there, but I would just hit it there. So that would be 4 there, 5, 7, all on your A. I'm going to include that note. That's the major 6. That's 4 on your D, 5 on your D, 7 on your D. You're going to have 5 on your G. There's your major 3rd on 4. On 6. So 5 to 6 to get that major 3rd on G. 7 and 8. All those notes are fine there. And then you have 5 on your G Then we've got 5 on our B. Then here's the major 6 on 7 and the flat 7 on your 8th fret. And then you've got your root here on 5 on your high E string. And then you have your major to minor to major 3rd there as well. So that's 8, 9. Right? So that's kind of where my mind is, and when I'm saying this position, my box, my A box, that's kind of where my brain's going to think in a lot of circumstances, right? Playing over an A7. Now, let's go to the 4, its box, and what we would superimpose here. So here, first, let's just start out with, it's obviously a D major, right? Or a D7, doesn't really matter what's being played in that circumstance here. And let's just start out with the major arpeggio here, because those notes are obviously going to be go-tos there. So you've got 5 on your A string, 7 on your D, G, and your B strings, and you can hit 5 on your high E string. Now, as you can see, a lot of those notes are going to overlap with your A box, right? So it's really just about choosing which notes, right? And accentuating your landing spots, right? So in other words, don't overthink this. A lot of the times your ear is going to do some of this for you, is kind of what I'm getting at, okay? Now let's go over the D box, right? So now there's a few we could use in this circumstance. We can use that, which would be like a D major pentatonic, or I'm sorry, like a D minor pentatonic. But if I were going to do that, I'm going to want to also use those major 3rds, major 6, and those notes to imply more major as well, right? So in this case, and once again, a lot of times I'm just going to accentuate the triad. Even though I'm hitting a couple other notes in there, I'm kind of just working out of this box there, a little toying with that major to minor 3rd. Now here's the big piece of this here, before we get into that whole position, is that where the minor and major third now changes, right? When I'm over the D, it's now from on your B string, from your 6th to your 7th fret, right? So, in other words, that major 6th, that's when we're playing over an A, that note that would be the major 6th turns to my major 3rd when I get to the 4 chord, if that makes sense. I hope it does, because that's why that note is a great note in that blues in A, right? So once again, why that major 6th is such a money note in that key is because when you get around to the 4, you're on the major 3rd. All right, so anyway, I kind of took us on a little bit of a derailment here, you guys. Let's just get into this scale here. We've got 5 and 8 on our low E, 5 and 8 on our A string, and then we've got 5, 7 on both our D and our G string, 6, 8 on our B, and 5, 8 on our high E. Now we're going to add some notes in here though. So this would be the major 6th over D. So that's going to be a B note, right? So that's going to be our 7th fret on our high E. So let's go back up using the notes, okay? Using those notes. The extra notes, that is. So here now we have 8 on our B, but also there's your flat 5 if you want to grab that ever. So you have 8, 9 that you can grab. And then here's your minor to major 3rd over D. That's 6 to 7. Now we're back in our scale here. 5, 7 on our G string, and now we have 5, 7 again on our on our D string. But you can hit the flat 5 there again. That's on your 6th. 5 to 8 on both your A and your low E. And you can also hit 7 on your low E there. Then you have your major 3rd back here as well, 4th, which is remember how your major 6th in A right there, right, your F sharp, that is also your major 3rd there in D. Right? So you're starting to see how some of this overlaps, hopefully, because it's all, I mean, they share a lot of the same notes. It's just they function differently depending on what chord you're playing it over, right? So just being cognizant of that is sometimes enough to give it the sound like you're changing chord, changing scales, changing what you're doing, when really you're not changing up all that much. You're just landing on something different, accentuating a different, sometimes it's even a chord tone, right? So it's really accentuating it. So cool. I think I've babbled on enough, guys. Hopefully that gives you enough to chew on for a little bit. You know how much I love y'all. Like, subscribe, share. We'll continue this overlapping boxes. This is an endless rabbit hole. So we'll continue this, guys. Much love. I'll see you on the flip. Keep on picking. Later.